Maybe this will make the difference right here. Maybe that'll make the difference. Everybody, can anybody hear me right now? Here we go. Hold on a second. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Can you hear me now? Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. I don't know what happened. I think that yeah, I don't know what happened. Thank you there, Pastor Tasha. Thank you, y'all. So I want to be clear that we had a wonderful time. Let me say it again. We had a wonderful time last week, and each time that we come together, we have an unscripted conversation. So some people may be asking the question, "What exactly are you talking about today, man? What are we talking about today?" And we're going to be talking about some things today. And is the thing is that Quest and myself have not had this conversation, and we may throw something at each other, but we have not had this conversation, and maybe you have not had this conversation also with others, but we want to have this conversation with you tonight. And so we believe that as Quest and myself come together and have this let me put it this way, this unscripted conversation, you never know what's going to happen, what's going to be said. And I just want to share with you, last week we had an interesting guest on last week, and that if Pastor Richards. Yeah, I'm gonna call her Pastor Richards or Pastor Natasha. And I wanted to share with you of something that was said on. Let me see if my man is on. Let me see if my man is on. Is my man on? There we go. Do we? Hey, Papa, you good?
Oh yeah, we good now. We good like you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you sound like a little robot, bro.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So so in the meantime, I'm gonna share with you some words that we got last week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that again. Again, share this with others. Unscripted conversation. Maybe one of the things we are going to talk about tonight is especially women. When you ask a question, do you want the truth? Okay, come on, forget it. Ladies, when you in a conversation, do you want the truth, or do you just? All right. Anyway, let's keep going. So I want to just look at something that we talked about last week. Let's look at this together.
Words that I want to bring to this conversation: emotional intelligence. There is
Mm.
a book that I read that started me on this journey. I was doing my CPE. There's a book by Peter Scazzaro called Emotionally Healthy and Spiritually Mature.
Please put that
And
in there.
one of the things they discovered is we're, as leaders especially, we're up there, we're speaking, we're preaching, we're teaching, but we are not spiritually mature because we're emotionally unhealthy
Wow.
at the core. One of the biggest thing, and I've done the training because I went and got certified, it does this genealogy, because before you can understand yourself, you've got to understand the messages that you have been put inside of your brain, heart, mind, and soul from you were younger. Like,
Mm.
what did your parents' divorce actually teach you that you have a habit for now? Like, what did that event with your aunt or the person who guided you in that life now? What did it, yes, that's his name. What did it do to you now that you're causing habits now? Because before you can just sit down here and say, okay, I just get angry. Why do you get angry? Where did you learn that from? You learned that from somebody. There are two words that I want to bring to this
She said,
conversation.
"You learned that from somebody." Wow. Well, we had a great time last week, and this week I'm just throwing out invitations to people. I know you don't know everything that we're talking about tonight, but I'm throwing out invitations. I see Merlan on tonight. That's my first elder personified. Merlan, good to see you on, and Daryl, good to see you. Claudette Jackson, what's up? What's up? How are you? Eleanor Waters, good to have you on. Jimmy Gibson. I just threw it out to you just in case you want to get on tonight. Maryland, those Chicago people, boy, I tell you. Good to see you guys on. Good to see you guys on. And it's a privilege to just spend some moments with you. Before we even begin, I'm gonna just check on my man, see if he's doing all right over there. Quest, you doing all right? Yeah, baby, no sound, no sound. But you could just sit there and look pretty, Ricky. You know what I'm saying? It's all right. In fact, I have a feeling, right? I know Faith may not like this, but here we go. I have a feeling that nobody come on to hear me anyway. They want to see your face. I got a call the other day that was like, yo, who that dude? I was like, that dude married. They was like, who that dude? Okay, that means the question twice, man. They didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we don't gotta hear you. We just see the smile from ear to ear. You know what I'm saying? We see the smile from ear to ear. Again, I'm gonna ask my sister to come on and co-host with me tonight. Just in the meantime, my sister, you there?
Hi.
There we go. There we go. I got my co-host on until Quest got it together over there. Listen,
Like that.
you're
Technical difficulties yourself. So come on.
all the time. All the time. I'm not getting on him. I don't like good looking people on the screen with me. So Quest be looking all sweet, you know what I mean? And I be looking like I'm dusty. I don't care if I could be shaved. They'd be like, who the other guy? So I'm fine. I'm fine. You see, somebody just said you got an echo. So you see, so that means I got to go back to the drawing board right here, hit that echo cast, and boom, and we're good. All right, there we go. There we go. Tasha, how you been doing, girl?
I'm okay. It's summer. Finishing up one more class, and then for a few weeks I'll have a break in
Okay.
transitioning, and we're counting down. I have 9 more months left.
Mm,
So yeah, I just had a visit from my firstborn.
okay.
She came here to visit where I go to school, and we had spent some time. So I haven't seen. Hi, Daryl. I haven't seen her in forever.
Okay.
So it was great to spend some time with her.
It's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. How much time? A couple of days, a week? What? How much time you had?
He
Weekend?
was here since Thursday last week. So we had a couple of days and went to Chicago, and it was awesome.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds Chicago. That's a spot right there. I can't even tell you. It was either that or the zoo. But if I say the zoo, that means I wasn't being spiritual in school. I gotta say, all right, good. Don't worry about Andrews, folks. Don't worry about that at all. Don't worry about it at all.
There's other spots. When you come for alumni, there's other spots.
Okay. Spiritual spots. I get it.
Spiritual spots.
So listen, yes, last week, man, you kind of got us going with, man, leaders being the most being the least ready or and how we got to be prepared with that book that you talked about. And some people have been asking about that book, been talking about that book. But it's funny, leaders in relationships, it's a stretch. You know what I'm saying? Leaders in relationships, it's a stretch. Now, I had a wonderful opportunity, like for the past couple of days, to be talking about leaders in relationships, whether they're married, whether they're dating, and what have you. It's a scary thing,
Mhm,
especially when God is calling each one of us, whether it's church work or not, to be leaders. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? I want you
mhm.
to give us a synopsis of what you talked about last week, because I want to talk about men being leaders today and what women want out of leaders of men. Do they want the truth about them, or they want to build something new in them? Hmm.
You gonna get me started right from the back. You ain't even can I warm up just a little?
No,
I
no,
mean,
no,
so
we don't got time.
so
We-
last week I spoke about emotional intelligence. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
He came in right on. He came in right on. And one of the things, and I geared it to leaders because that's a part of my wheelhouse, but it actually to anybody.
mhm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally Healthy Spirituality is the name of the book by Peter Scazzaro. And
Right.
I highly recommend it for anybody, especially our leaders.
You know, I purchased it, right?
You did? I love it.
Yeah, immediately I saw the book and I just read the
I
little
love it.
introduction. I was like, all right, I need this book.
Why you have to make me look bad?
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad, my
You
bad.
see? Do you
My
see what I'm
bad.
talking about? That's
My
why you
bad.
know what? You know
I'm
what?
sorry,
Quest-
my bad.
Let me
No, no,
help you. Let me help you feel better. You ready, Paul?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Paul bought this book, right, Paul?
Yes.
Bought this
Yeah.
book. Okay, so
Yeah.
you got to buy this book now. This is my
Now
book.
I have to bind that. So we equal now because he
Yeah.
have that book and I have the other one. So now we can equal out. I'll buy that one and he'll buy. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yo,
All right,
listen,
yeah,
listen. I'm
yeah, yeah.
no. Pastor Jimmy Gibson. Just before you go ahead again, Pastor Jimmy Gibson said, "Repeat it." You ain't got to repeat it. You ask her to repeat it. What's up, Jimmy? What's going on, boy?
What's going on?
Boom, boom,
What's going
boom,
on? What's going on,
boom,
fam?
boom.
Good. Did you hear
So
that book she talking about? We're gonna talk about that a
Emotionally
little bit. Go ahead.
healthy spirituality.
Okay.
Emotionally healthy spirituality. It's to make sure that we understand what emotional intelligence is in order for us to be spiritually mature. Because we believe if we read the Bible, know the Bible, have a relationship with God, we're okay, which is half true.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's half true. But
Okay.
the other part is we need to make the Bible practical. And in order to make the Bible practical, the Bible says know yourself several times. So, how do you know yourself? You need to understand how you were raised, what messages you understood from when you were raised, and how does that now play into your emotional intelligence. Example.
Okay.
Paul likes to go travel. Why does Paul like to go travel? Did Paul get that from a good place in his growing up or a bad place? Is he running away from something, or is he seeking out adventure and seeking out to be curious because maybe he was put in a box as a young person or growing up, or maybe he has always traveled and he learned that lesson from his parents. So a lot of the things that we do actually come from either trying to replay habits that we learned when we were younger or running away from something in order to not deal with this. So that's a synopsis. You wanted a short version. That's it.
Yeah, I'm good with the short version. I'm good with the long version also. See, my issue based on what you're talking about right now is emotional intelligence. Am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
So then, and Jimmy, I brought you into this also because, I know that you on what, that you've been married again. Okay. And is there some link? I'm just saying in your mindset, Natasha, is there some link to men or couples not having emotional intelligence in a relationship? And what might that look like? I know that you may not call yourself an expert, but you said it is in your wheelhouse. So kind of switch that around for as a single leader, okay? Because we're gonna come back as men as leaders. As a single leader, how do you pull that together with emotional intelligence and not just being a leader, but in relationships?
Let's start with one basic concept: communication.
Okay, cool.
Do I know how to communicate? Or here's the other part of that conversation. Do I know how to fight? See, no matter if you're married, single, business relationship, friendship, whatever, do you know how to do these things? Do you know how that communication, a big part of communication is listening, not listening to respond, not listening to fight back.
I didn't ask for all of this, but go ahead.
Actually
But go ahead.
See, there you go, not listening.
To actually listen. As pastors, which is a lot of our wheelhouse here, we do well with listening to our parishioners. But sometimes when it comes to our personal relationship, be it spouse, if you're single, dating, be it children, even our older parents, our siblings, we don't listen to them. We automatically have a signal in our head that says they are annoying, or we put them in judgment in this box. So when they start talking, we automatically turn off. So then when they ask for our response, we either have something very rude, vague, or just we're not here.
Okay.
That comes from, let's start back with your emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence says that this is an active action that I need to take. I need to participate in this. I need to be able to listen to what Paul is saying. Paul could be talking about church or school, but I should understand him enough by now to say, okay, Paul is angry. Paul just wants me to listen. Okay, Paul, do you want me to comment in this conversation? Like, everybody should have rules. If you've been around each other for 10, 20 years, whether you're friends, married, or what, there should be some, how do we communicate?
Okay.
Do you want me automatically to tell you my opinion,
regardless
of how you feel?
You see how her head just shook just now, bro? I'm gonna cut you off for a second. I'm gonna say it right because I know my wife is watching me. Be like, why are you always cutting people off? I'm gonna cut you off for a second.
It's okay.
Jimmy, I know that this is, and I'm gonna say this right. This is your third marriage. Okay. pastor, leader, right? Okay. Would you find do you find that in your past relationships, whether dating or married, that there was a level of non-communication or what's this word again, as she has used, um,
Emotional
um,
intelligence.
emotional intelligence that has not been played out in your marriage? It could be something different, but your thoughts, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think all of those things. I think it has been a portion of all that, and I think as Tosh was talking about, it's like what is your makeup, and
Mm,
so and talking, growing up in the house where I grew up in a single mother household,
mm,
and so as you talk about shutting down and things like that. When things took place, if I said something and my mother shut it down,
hmm.
you when you get older, you shut down when you get and get into those situations. So
Wow.
you don't well, for me, I didn't learn how to communicate. I could talk. I could talk my way out of a wet paper bag. I could sell pork to a Jew. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I mean, that's what I could
That's
do.
so sad.
But talking is different than communicating,
Mm,
because sometimes we talk at each other
hmm.
and we're thinking that we're communicating, but we're not communicating because we're not telling who, what, when, where, and why, to
Wow.
give context and clarity for the conversation to be able to be had. So, like Tasha was saying, there are moments that in my marriages, I didn't want my wife to say nothing to me. I just needed her to listen to me
Mm,
because I never got it
Mhm.
when I was coming up. My mother, my
wow.
grandmother, because they were the authoritative figures. So when they said, you don't listen to me, the one thing I used to always say, you don't ever listen to me.
Mm.
And it was always so. Then I began to learn how to respond. I was listening to rebut. I
Ch-
wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to hear. I was listening to find out what was hurting me, as
mm,
opposed to listening to what was hurting her.
wow. So
Say it.
Did Merlan call it defensive listening? Is that what she called it? I think she called.
Yeah,
Right. I think she
defensive
called it
listening.
defensive listening. So you were
Hmm.
listening to how to you're listening to it just how to rebut.
I'm
Hmm.
listening how to fight. I'm listening how I'm going how am I going to do my Floyd Mayweather in my communication? How am I going
Woo.
to bob and weave? How am I going to duck and dodge? How am I going to jab when I need to jab? How am I going to pull off? How am I going to counter? All those things. And it wasn't listening to hear the heart of the person that was talking.
Wow.
It was listening to just say, yeah, I was listening to you. And we have to be careful when we say we're listening to people. And I've told my children, I've told my ex-wives, I've told people I was dating, you hear me, but you're not listening.
Ah, I
So
heard
you
you.
hear me.
I it,
So like you know how you see on television sometimes when you see the folks that just zone out, you can hear like Charlie Brown's mama or teacher. Wah, wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah, wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah.
wah, wah. You
Yeah.
hear her, but you don't understand. You ain't listening to a word that she's saying because she ain't saying
Ah,
it. So those things did play a part in and still do that. I'm still growing in that area. I'm still
I never
So,
thought that community. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so here's something you're asking from a single person. If I am dating somebody or interested in somebody, you see the things that Jimmy said?
Yeah.
We don't pay attention to those things in those beginning conversations. He
Mhm.
said it. And I could almost guarantee you where a lot of information comes when we're comfortable and we're
Uh-huh.
sharing about how we grew up and what the environment was. That is a big listening aspect to how your communication, how your relationship is going to be. That's
Mm.
where if the red flags are there, they're going to show up because I'm telling you how I'm going to treat you. I'm telling
Ah,
you. I'm telling you the messages that I learned growing up. He just told me how he learned about communication,
right.
how he was told not to have emotions. He
Okay.
just told me how he views a female aspect in his life. Because as a male, one of your biggest female examples is your mother or your grandmother for some of us.
So the way that we communicate, I'm just, the way that we communicate with I'm talking about as men, right? To our wives, to our daughters, right? But mainly in our relationships, we kind of get that from, as Jimmy said, from a past or from the way that we were raised or whatever. It's funny. So the way that we communicate with one another in a messed up way or in a negative way can be a generational curse.
Not just a curse, a generational habit. I wouldn't call it a curse. It's a
Okay.
habit. The reason
Generational
why I
habit.
wouldn't call it a curse is because it's passed down. I'm gonna give you an example. We
Okay.
Caribbeans up in here, right? So we yell, we scream at the top
Well,
of our
Jimmy
lungs.
don't yell.
We yell.
Talk to Linda D. Talk to
we
Linda
talk
D.
very loud with our dialects and whatever the case may be. If a stranger is passing by, they will swear on their life we angry with each other.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
But that we're not angry with each other. Let's just learn how we learn to communicate. Is it correct? Is now where you need to come to. It became a habit because that's what you were surrounded by. So you picked it up and nobody told you it was wrong.
Or nobody told you how that can be not just wrong, and that's it. It's wrong. Nobody said it was wrong, but we would hear things like whether it's the South, whether it's the North, whether it's whatever. Yo, hear me, and that's all I need you to do is hear me. And even in our friendships, I guess you're saying, right? In our friendships, in our regular conversations, we are loud. This is what it is, and there is no room for connection. There's no room for hearing one another, listening to one another, so it can change our mindset. So Jimmy, what's the difference now? I'm just saying, would you say, hey man, I'm still working on that, even in my next relationship?
I'm still working. I'm better.
Okay.
And it's just like anything. It's like it's levels to it. It's as you get better, there's more. You can go deeper. It's just like God. When you get to one level, you can go deeper with God because God. So this thing that we got called life goes until we don't go no more. Mm-hmm. So as we're going, there's another level. There's another level, and so and both of you have probably taken some classes of human behavior and all that kind of stuff. When you think about Erickson's stages of development, that you begin, everything has started from stage one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trust and mistrust. Mm-hmm. What can I trust in communication? What am I mistrusting in communication? And so then what happens is subsequently is like math, like any other subject, each level is contingent upon the previous levels.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to level 3, where you're at adolescence, you still have to worry, can I trust this level? On this level do I? And so if you've never built a healthy trust, mistrust, each level becomes unhealthy trust and mistrust, because that's the foundation that has been built. So now now my trust and mistrust is under a renovation project.
Oh my God.
So it has to be restructured. The foundation has a crack in it, and so now I have to resettle the foundation. And so it takes time. It's maturity. It's, again, we talk about maturity, and I'm 56 now. I didn't get this until I was 50.
Man.
I'm just being honest. I'm being transparent.
Say it.
I really didn't get this, and I've been married now for 8 years. Now, my 3 marriages, the first 2 ended in 3 years. Do you know the anxiety I had in the first 3 years of this marriage?
Wow.
That when we have arguments and we have disagreements and we have this, that, and the other, I'm shutting down because I don't want this to end the way it ended before. And so then when I get to year 4, I'm at a new level. But I'm still it's unknown. So now as I'm growing, now I'm in year 8. Now I think I'm growing. I'm smelling myself.
Right.
But I'm still getting to that level where understanding where I am, understanding that I need to listen to somebody, because If I just, like Tosh, if you just listen in the beginning, it'll save you some headaches.
Wow.
It'll save you.
See, Daryl said something, and it's the same thing we were talking about last week, Jimmy, and you said it again in what you said. We have to unlearn that process of unlearning. You said you were over 50 before you learned this lesson. So for 50, you have to unlearn 50 years. You think about that. Let's just say you're 20 or you're 30. You have to unlearn that amount of years and then practice what is supposed to be. That's a lot.
Well, what's so sad is part of the unlearning.
Real quick, Paul.
I'm sorry.
So my wife and I, when we got married, we were in our mid-40s. So when we both hit 50, when we were going through one of the rough times, I said almost the same thing that you said, Tom. We have 100 years worth of life that we're trying to do together, that we're trying to untangle, unravel. And if we think that we can unravel 100 years worth of living, your 50, my 50, then we're sadly deceived and delusional to believe that this is going to take place in 3 years, 8 years, 20 years. It'll just continue to get better, but it's always going to be another level to it. So,
Sounds like development to me.
Again,
development.
Again,
I'm just saying.
And the hardest thing about this development process, right? And we all got to be real, right? Because nobody on here is perfect, right? The issue
I am now.
Okay. I'm perfectly a fool. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That what you said is what Daryl said, and what he said is unlearning, right? But what you said is unlearning and then practicing. You see, the crazy thing is that we are taught to practice something that we haven't learned. And I think that one of the crazy thing is, like, I give you an example. I've heard my father many times say to my mother, "All right, Griselle, all right. All right." And for her, it was like, all right. You understand where I'm coming from? And that kind of communication is not, all right, Griselle, I will do it, but I need you to know that this is how it made me feel. You understand where I'm coming from? So I've gone to my brother's house and heard my brother say, all right, Nag. I was just at my other brother's house in New York, and she said, all right, no, sir. And you can hear me say at home, all right, Wendy, all right. You know what I mean? Instead of really, what I'm doing is practicing something that it doesn't get any better. It just, now when we're married 50 years, we then tell our loved ones, how did it work? I knew when to say, all right.
So Pete, let me jump in here real quick because
which is no development.
Okay. So this is what he said a while ago, and I think it's crucial. And I want to just go back and just stay there for a little bit. Married, divorce, married, divorce. Third marriage. I need to watch what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, even though what I may be saying is in perfect alignment with what I need as an individual, but I'm not going to say nothing for fear, with that fear of this might be the third divorce.
This might be yeah.
Can I say something? Try it now when it's your first marriage, but you've watched your grandparents, then you've watched your parents. And then I came along, and there was a lot in my first marriage that I put up with that I wasn't supposed to put up with. But this is the reason, once again, why I say foundation is important. Development is important, because if you're emotionally whole, somebody who's not operating in alignment with your peace, you will kindly usher them up and out of your life. Right. But because of desperation, not for the sake of being desperate, but sometimes we want to be in relationships so bad sometimes, and not a separate, unique, or whole individual, that you end up taking on and suffering with stuff that you ain't got no business suffering with, and you won't say anything for fear of mashing this relationship up. Right.
Hence, no emotional.
That's right.
Come on,
That's right.
Intelligence.
No
I'm sorry.
emotional.
I'm soaking it in.
Okay,
Yeah.
no emotional intelligence, and then this is what Jason says about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
We don't even know, right, Jimmy? We don't even know that we're being unhealthy in our communication. We think that emotional intelligence is something, and I'm going to say this as a man, we may be taught to handle a situation intelligently without emotion because we're taught not to show it. We're taught not to live it. We're do not be exposed. Don't cry. Don't say that you're hurt. Don't I can go down the
Unhealthy.
line. I can go
Unhealthy.
down the line. A man can be hurt and he does not let his wife know because he says, okay, I'm going to go down to Nipsey's and get a drink, right? I'm going to go down to a
P,
club.
you was at Nipsey's?
Which,
I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know.
I was leaving it alone.
I just wanted to know if you went down to
Before I
Nipsey's.
remind her,
listen, anything go down with me.
I didn't say it. He was here. I ain't say it.
I go to Living Well. Living Well is a
living.
ABC
Oh, okay,
bookstore.
okay.
It's an ABC bookstore.
I got it. And you have hot chocolate.
And I get hot chocolate. Yo, hold on a second. Let me get a commercial. So I'm gonna throw this out there, right? I love the Living Well store, man. It's a man.
You can't even hold it together.
There's a manager down there at the bookstore. I love her to death, man. Her and her husband. His name Steve Letty is her husband, right? She's the manager down there. So I walk in there, man, like 2 days before New Year's. And she said, hey, Paul, I want you to go over there. I want you to try some of that wine over there. And I said to her, come on, girl, you got to be kidding me. Go over there and there is wine, right? There's wine. And me and my wife, I'm sipping it. I'm like, yo, this is really good. This is really good. It's fake wine now, y'all. It's fake.
Oh, it was fake. Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry.
My wife.
It wasn't your Pinot?
Martinelli's.
It wasn't even
Martinelli's.
See my wife here? Hold on. See my wife here? Let me check it.
Wait, I can't tell just yet. Let me drink. Give me another sip.
Like that.
Give me another sip.
My wife can tell you in a heartbeat.
Oh, Wendy, give me another sip. I can't tell just yet. Let me.
This ain't real. So when I go down to Living Well, look at
it could be, but I'm not quite sure.
Not quite sure. Yo, let me tell you something. That's why when you find these guys go down to Nipsey's, right? Go down to Living Well,
brother.
Go down to all these other spots, man, or find unhealthy ways of dealing with their relationships. No, we're not saying it's a woman's fault, but it is our fault by trying to be intelligent without the correct emotions, trying to be intelligent without development, trying to be intelligent, especially without God. Without God.
P, you can't give what you don't have.
That's what I was about to say. How can you say it's a fault if you didn't even know it was wrong?
Okay.
You can't give what you don't. And then, once again, I hate it. I hate to say it over and over again, but I'm gonna keep saying it. And I know the horse is dead and broke up in a whole heap of pieces, and right. But it is development. What version of yourself are you in right now? Because if you're not at the very best version of yourself, just imagine if you can't give that to you, you can't give it to nobody else.
Okay.
And that's where people who are people pleasers end up like this is where they run into problems, because I want to make you happy. But guess what? You got needs too. And the minute that you don't get your needs met because you're not confrontational, right? You start suffering in silence. Remember, your soul can't hold a secret that your behavior won't reveal. So when the other person is not getting the very best of you that they should get, well, why? Because you never told me that. Well, you see what I'm saying? Development requires.
But do they know what their best self is?
But when they were
something like they already know, but a lot of us never got those tools to say, who are you?
Natasha, if you get married again, I'm sorry, if you get married, right? Are you able to say to your spouse, hold on a second, I'm seeing that there needs to be some development. Do you think a man can take that coming from you?
If that was the beginning conversation before we walked down that aisle, the problem is we try to implement new things after a commitment. We don't start from the beginning.
I got you.
Let's have these hard conversations right now.
I got you.
Aaron Judge. She plays for the Yankees. It's out of here. It's out of here. It's out of here.
Out of here.
Who are you? The problem is some of us don't even go to real marriage counseling. We go to that fake thing that pats you on the back and say, okay, y'all look good. Here, let me give you a couple of things here and there. Go get married. What about that if it's not marriage counseling, between the two of you, do you know how to communicate? Have you already expressed to that person, this is who I am? Have you seen that person angry? The young women who come and talk to me, have you seen him angry? Do you know what that looks like? Before you go commit yourself to that. You can change into Frankenstein and Hulk Hogan when you get married. Mad, even vice versa. I could change into Cruella de Vil if I get angry.
Or Ellen.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
What? Okay, yo, Jimmy, I want to ask you this. I'm going to throw this on you, right? Because
look at this.
I'm glad I'm a big dude. I can take the weight of it. Come on, man.
You got me, Jimmy.
I'm gonna ask if you were given a piece of advice, because we do not marital counseling, we do premarital counseling, and a lot of us, like you have different degrees than many of us as pastors, so you are well equipped. If somebody came to you and they said, listen, I'm having an issue with my communication with my girlfriend, with my girlfriend, and I'm thinking whether I want to be married to this person. Okay. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to this person, to these persons as they're meeting you about communicating, just about communicating? Remember now, they've been dating, they want to get married. No, they want to see if they ought to get married. You know what I'm saying? So there's pre-engagement. What would you tell them at their pre-engagement time? I know I'm just throwing it on you. I don't know it's a good answer, but I think you know.
So I wouldn't give them advice.
No, Tosh. Wait, Natasha, hold on. Let the man with the weight handle this one.
Oh, you talking to Jimmy? Oh, you ain't.
No, yeah, I'm scared of you. You don't,
I think part of what you asked the question is, have you all discussed your communication frailties yet?
Wow.
Have you discussed why you're not talking? And I had some marital counseling that way, that they were having. One was not a communicator, and in the midst of this premarital discussion, the one thing I ask is, how did your mom and dad handle stuff in front of you?
There you go.
Wow.
Right there.
How did they handle it in front of you? Okay, if your mom and dad wasn't married, how did your mom handle the man that she was dating? How did your dad handle the woman that she was dating, if they had that? Or if those that are around you that you valued, if it's grandma, uncle, whoever, how did they handle those type of situations? And then what was the parenting style of your parents?
There you go.
Was it it was my way or the highway?
Yes.
Was it you only speak when spoken to? What you say don't have no value until I tell you it has value.
Wow.
All those kind of things. And so is that, and so then we have to dig. And so we have to dig a little bit to get into this before we move forward, because communication, because through this rest of this session, the rest of these sessions is going to take communication.
Right.
Because and that's really the first thing that we ought to talk about when we get them in marriage and premarital counseling, the communication, because from then on, everything is contingent upon communication, verbal and nonverbal.
Wow.
Can I just add to his piece?
Please.
There's a study that shows that what he's saying in terms of this communication, a lot of the times it's the interaction. It's not even the content of their discussion or the level of agreement. It's more about the interaction. Okay, case in point, when me and Faith first got married, we would have these discussions. Well, they were heated discussions, and they
Okay.
would be at an 8, 9. Till this day, I don't know what this mean, right? I don't know, like I don't know what that mean, right? But I know it felt disrespectful till one day I made a decision that I'm not going above a 3. Nope, I refuse to. And she got mad because I wouldn't go up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day she was like, wait a minute, this joker in a meeting, in a marriage community meeting, she said, yeah, I was the one looking crazy now because he refused to go to a 3. Why? Because it wasn't productive. Do you know from that day she started talking at that same 3 with me? We never had a knockdown drag out after that. Why? Because I'm not hearing you not hearing me. And even when I am hearing you and you hearing me, because the interaction is a pleasant one, we can disagree today, but we may end up agreeing on the same topic 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, because of the ongoing conversation. What most couples do, because they're not emotionally mature, is they blah, 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 blah. So you're doing a whole lot more of this than a whole lot more of this. And then when I've heard millions of wives, no, not millions, a couple hundred of wives maybe, right, say that, oh yeah, I don't have discussions with him when it comes to this because he goes up here. Or husbands that say, I don't have discussions with her because they go up here. And then even if they disagree, it's still not a pleasant experience. Why? Because of the way the interaction ain't right. There's studies that show it. And so it don't have nothing to do with the content. It does, but not as much as it does with the interaction. If we can have a conversation, I can see you, you can see me, and we don't have to let the offense build a fence in between us such that I don't see you and you don't see me.
You don't have to let the fence.
You don't have to let the offense build a fence between.
I got you. I got you.
You know, one of my favorite movies is Lean on Me.
Ooh,
and there's a scene.
Classic.
There's a scene with Robert Guillaume and Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
Ooh, I know which one you're talking about too.
And they get in there. They close the door. It's just them two in the room. They're about to go to lunch. Robert Guillaume said, "You need to get yourself in line."
Is that what he said?
He did.
No.
He did.
So he said, "You better get yourself in line because I'm the head in HNIC.
Yes.
You may think you are, but I'm the one. Get yourself together. Blah 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 blah. Now let's go eat lunch. Let's go get something to eat." Morgan Freeman picks up his little megaphone and walks out, and he looks at Robert Guillaume and says, "You really think you something, don't you?" But they understood.
Yeah.
They both escalated.
Yeah, right.
But they knew when to back off to have the other one be able to say what they needed to say.
Yeah.
So Robert Guillaume let Morgan Freeman pop off, but then he said, "Let me give you one. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what's going to go on." And then that's it. But presentation, we talk about the interaction, presentation, all of those things matter. Yeah. How do you present your issue?
Yeah.
One of the rules. Go ahead.
Last night, my wife asked me to do something. I can't see my face, but my face didn't say nothing pleasant. And so she said, "Why are you talking to me like that?" And I'm like what? But my face said everything that was going on the inside. Mm-hmm. And I'm irritated, upset. This question that you just asked me was just beyond whatever. Mm-hmm. But part of it was because of the way she asked the question. And so I responded, and instead of me taking a step back and saying, "Well, why she asked me that question like that?"
Slow down, Jimmy. This is a 35 mile per hour speed zone. Slow down.
So,
I think it's hard. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tasha. Go ahead.
So one of the things in what you're saying, we have a rule in public campus ministry when we're teaching and talking to our young people or us as colleagues. We have a rule. And the rule is, no matter how hard the conversation is, I should be able to go out to lunch with you right after the conversation.
Wow.
That's the rule.
Wow.
We have taught each other that as colleagues, and we have taught each other to do that with our students.
Yeah, can you try that when you leave Andrews into a church? But go ahead.
Hold on. Come, bring it. Because I've had to do it here at Andrews.
Okay.
several times with professors above me, colleagues, to say, I'm going to say what I have to say. Let's go out to eat. It works sometimes. Sometimes it don't work because the person on the receiving end can't handle that. Some of us want to stay angry and stay in that feeling of, oh, I'm hurt, I'm this. We want to stay right there. We don't want to leave it.
And
Mm.
we
So
want
we
to give
can
somebody a
have
piece of our mind.
reason. So we can have a reason to gossip or vent or say or be mad or to do whatever.
Yeah, you just made a comment, Jimmy, because we want to give somebody a piece of our mind.
Yes.
You know, a lot of it, I'm going to tell you right now with this, again, emotional intelligence, a lot of it, in fact, somebody want to, Pam Smith, she asked if we can put that out again, the book out again. So if you could put that you can bring that book up, put it out again. One of the things about emotional intelligence is
Okay.
that it's something that we need in not just relationships, but every part of our lives.
Right.
But you know, I got to say it this way: there's another level of emotional or being emotional, which we say, man, family. I remember I'm not a guru in this,
Mm-hmm.
but if we jump off the handle, or if we fly off the handle, we get upset, or we seem a little bit unhinged. Now I'm gonna be clear, right? I'm talking about men, right? Because I'm you're welcome to the show, Natasha, right? But I'm talking about men. Every time we as men, this is what this is about. This is what I can call Jimmy and talk about. This is what I can call Quest and talk about. Call my brothers and talk about. Anytime you're unhinged at all, the first thing that they would say to us is, "Why you being emotional?"
Man,
Right?
could that's crazy.
Why you being emotional? And the truth is that we don't know how to handle our emotions intelligently. So what they're really saying is, why are you being emotionally unintelligent? And I think that it's unlearned. It's something that we have not learned. It's unhinged. Did I say that right, Jason?
Oh,
Unhinged, right? We become unhinged, right? And when a man becomes unhinged, when a man just loses it, when a man goes for that walk because he can't talk right now, or this, that, and the other. A lot of times we learn that kind of behavior because that's all we can do, so that we don't do stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I know that, I may say things that will cause um maybe even Jimmy to say, yeah, you're right, or for Quest to say, yeah, or Jason who's online, you're right. Dow may say, you're right. Even my son might say you're right, right? You get upset and it's, man, you know what? Let me just walk out of here. Now I want you to talk right now. No, I'm walking out of here. He doesn't have the emotional intelligence to say, how do we handle this? Because another part of a man speaking to a woman is a woman really saying to him also, I'm going to get the last word out of you. I'm going to get the last word. I'm not willing for you to tell me how you feel, and that's it.
mm,
And many times you will even find that in, forget about a marriage relationship. You're talking to your cousin, that's a girl, or I mean a woman. You're talking to a boss, that's a woman. You're talking to you even as a boss, it's hard at times to have a conversation with a colleague that's a woman, because you don't they don't know where you are, and we don't know how to intelligently have a conversation without a man thinking, did I just say something wrong here? So a man now cannot be himself at work. He can't be himself in church. He can't be himself in the community, and he cannot be himself in his relationship, because everything that he says, it becomes it becomes either you're too emotional, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know how to handle a situation. When sometimes men cannot, is we're not allowed to be emotional. We're not allowed to stamp away like a 5-year-old child. We're not allowed to to ball out and cry. That's why we find that these sheetrock messed up houses got holes in it, because we're punching holes in walls, and things of that nature. You see, that's the way that he handles his anger, instead of saying, how can I get you to think this thing through? And I think that more men need to not count to 5, but need to count the future. You understand where I'm coming from?
Ooh.
And I think we're taught to count it first before you. So, I remember, man, I had a counselor, Gary and Pat would tell you, I had a counselor when I was a kid because of my anger. And this lady, right, she would say to me, you need to count to 10 before you throw, before you do this or that and the other. But why don't I count my consequences? Why not count things of that nature? We're not taught that. And I wasn't taught by a person that looked like me. I was taught by a person like me to count to 10 so that you can watch this, so you can de-escalate not yourself, but also the other person that is they're stepping all over you. And I got to tell you, before anybody may want to answer this, it's hard to have emotional intelligence when you don't have a spouse or a girlfriend or the community that you're in that's allowing you to be intelligent. They don't want to allow you to be intelligent. And I know I may be, you know, pulling, a rabbit out of a hat, but or try, or no, bring. I may be. It may seem as if I'm pulling this out of nowhere, but I'm not. I'm really want you to know, especially you being a woman who's here and other women who are listening, that sometimes, and that's why I posted this earlier to my brothers and to my son. I posted this, I think, earlier today, or yeah, to my brothers and to my son. I think it was yesterday. That Prime says the reason why we got people out here losing our minds as men, because I don't got a brother like Jimmy I can talk to every day, or a brother like Quest I can talk to every day, or Daryl I can talk to every day. Girls will get on the line, ladies will get on the line and talk, but men can't talk about our stuff because we also value one another by how their spouse sees them. We need our barbershops back. We need, and I'm going to say this, and I know this may sound crazy, we need our pubs back, right? We don't have pubs anymore for men to sit down and drink. What we have now is clubs for men to
Lounges.
we have lounges for men to dominate. What happened to the old days when the brothers used to meet up and sit down and have a drink together and talk? And I know it may not sound Adventist, right? But I need you to know that there's no space for men to have these conversations.
But
And
all that stuff, real quick, all that stuff is plant-based, right? You know, it's plant-based, right?
It's plant-based. Yeah, hops is plant-based.
All of it.
Hops is plant-based. I just wanted you to know that hops is plant-based.
Right, it's pure leaf.
Heineken makes the best hops, plant-based. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Listen, what you're saying is facts, though, P. It's called accountability, right? Accountability for men is not necessarily what everybody else thinks it is. Accountability is people who are reputable individuals who love you, who respect you, right? But who are not necessarily impressed by you, who you give permission to really check you when you're not living the way you say you wanted to live, not the way that they wanted to, but the way that you said you wanted to. I wanted to point to a comment that
I'm not trying to be right, okay? I'm not trying to be right. I'm feeling what I'm feeling.
No. I'm riding with you.
Okay.
Did you see what Merlanda Priere wrote there a while ago? She said, these are studies that the male brain need increased oxygen to move from the limbic brain to the cortex. So great communication is understanding needs. So it's crazy that she said that, because while you were talking, P, I was thinking about my homeboy. He's a neurologist. And I think we talked about it on here before. When men experience, we ain't gonna talk about the good stuff because the good is good. When men experience situations, especially of the negative kind, it happens somewhere in the back of the brain here. And then it moves to the limbic system, which is somewhere in this area of your brain, and then onto the frontal cortex where we make decisions, right? And we need to give it, sometimes men are not properly, we don't give ourselves enough time to think. The funny thing is that our emotions sit inside our limbic system. So we feel the thing literally before we have an opportunity to think about it. So we feel the burn, we feel the insult, we feel the disrespect, we feel the embarrassment, we feel the frustration. And before we get an opportunity, we feel the burn, and then we let that decision take us off to left field. No wonder so many relationships are destroyed, and brothers is getting locked up, and a number of different things. Why? Because we didn't give ourselves enough time for it to get to the frontal lobe where we can think about, why is it that I'm feeling angry right now? Why am I pissed the way that I'm pissed? Why am I ticked off the way that I'm ticked off? Why am I frustrated, embarrassed? You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, ashamed. Why am I feeling that? Because usually when you see a man react out of his emotions, it's usually closely related to anger. And if you ask him, what's wrong with you? I'm angry. No, you're not angry. You're just embarrassed, and it's manifesting as anger. Right. And so that's the thing, is to be able to be sit and think about why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, rather than popping off. Because if I pop off, if you come from where me and Paul come from, and you pop off, we might move some furniture, we might destroy some furniture, and we might get into brawling with a couple of people too. So yeah, P.
I'm not trying to get no trouble, first of all, with Natasha, right? Or right. I wish I could bring my man James Sampson on, man. It's good to see my dude on.
Oh, that's my guy.
Man, that's my dude right there, like Godfather. Yo, listen, Natasha, please, if I offend you, count it as ignorance on my level, on what I'm saying, right? It's not right to touch a woman. I'm gonna say it again. It's not right to touch a woman.
Correct.
I'm gonna say it 3 times now, right?
Correct.
It is not right to touch a woman.
How are we touching her?
I'm sorry. I'm talking about hitting.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, then,
because
no, it's wrong.
in that case, it is right to touch a woman. In that case, in the case you're thinking, it is correct.
Stay focused.
It's correct. And I want to
All
be
right,
specific.
good. Okay. All right.
In touching my woman, I want to.
Stay focused.
I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. You're talking about yours. Yes, I understand.
Right.
No,
So
I was taking off a while ago.
No man should put his hand on no woman at all, right? When I think of emotional intelligence, right? And remember, I haven't read the book, I haven't looked at it the whole 9 or what have you.
And I sent the picture to you.
I got it. I recognize that there are individuals, men, and I'm going to go as far as to say this about women also, put their hands on each other. Put their hands on each other because they don't know how to communicate.
Yes.
And they put their hands on each other because that is the woosah that they get, that communication should be bringing.
Yes.
Like if you communicate with someone and you're doing it correctly,
yes,
you're in a space,
yes,
right? But if you cannot communicate with an individual,
yes,
why people touch one another, hurt one another, the brothers on the corner that's talking, and they push each other or hit each other because you're just not agreeing or understanding where you're coming from. This is one of the reasons why I believe so much abuse happens, because we abuse communication before we abuse each other.
It's a learned behavior. All of us came from Brooklyn, New York, whatever surrounding cities. We all got friends. We know for like the close of our eye. If we go tell them right now somebody touched us, it's done. It's done. There's no questions. We know if we go to that person, somebody getting shot, somebody getting cut, somebody not gonna have limbs on their hands. We all know somebody. But where did they learn that behavior?
Goon talk. Goon talk.
In all of those homes, mommy's being hit or beat down in front of them, or they know it, or they hear it at nighttime, or daddy's being hit and nobody's saying nothing, or some guardian somewhere. They're growing up with it. So, and then they go, or they're being ignored. So then they go find a family. You know, we all got gang friends. They go find a gang and they learn that it's learned behavior. It's not just communication anymore at that point. It's learned.
You
see, and you know what I like about this is that there is an issue of communication, and Darren made it clear before. Look at Theodore Thorpe said Crown Heights. Everybody's representing.
Big up the
everybody's-
squad from Crown and Carroll, from Utica, from Troy Ave. You know what I'm saying? Big up you know what I'm saying? Big up the
Everybody's
Crown and
throwing it out
Carroll
there. You know, Claudette makes a comment. She says a sense of misplaced euphoria, right? There's nothing that feels good about making another person feel bad.
No.
And I think that in marriages, like you said last week and you said today earlier, Natasha, that many times this happens. All right, hold up. Shout out to Jimmy. He had to go. All right, good. Some of what we got to realize is that word development comes about again when we have not developed in our homes. We've not developed in our relationships. We've not we have not developed in that space. So now when it's time to, we're not moving forward. We people have lived together, not even divorced, right? Have lived together for 40 and 50 years. They're in their 70s and 80s and have said, yo, you know, they now live by how their spouse reacts and respond instead of what they say. And I think, man, I'm 54 and I've been next month I'm married 23 years.
Come on.
And
you don't get to just breeze by that, bro.
God bless you.
You've been married for how long?
23, bro. 23. Right?
Wow.
I made it because of Pure Leaf.
Well,
Pure Leaf.
High grade. High grade.
High grade.
High grade.
I better listen. I better chill. My daughter.
Top the thing.
I won't
High
talk
grade.
about the things I used to hear about the Grand Boys.
High grade.
Let's just leave that alone.
Top the thing. High grade.
Go listen, and it's not perfect,
Ganja
right?
farmer.
And you know what, man? I got to write down some of these things that I want to talk about, right? Because you know, people have come to me and have said to me growing up, yo, your family is like, I'm talking about my parents, and your family's like the Cosby Show family. I was like, what? Man, you don't understand what goes on in my house. And then
closed doors.
Jason said, what are you chasing, Pastor? What are you chasing the Pure Leaf with? Water.
Jesus juice.
Jesus juice.
Jesus juice.
Man, I think it's so important that Darryl made the comment earlier. How do we develop? Churches have men's ministry, but they don't carry that thing daily. You know what I'm saying? I think that I'm going to tell you, I think that it is so important that if men's ministry is going to carry on in churches today, they need to talk to men. They need to bring men from the outside to come in. And you understand where I'm coming from? I mean, when you talk among your own brethren, it still gets muddled. But if you invite your neighborhood to come in and say, yo, this is what we're talking about today, this is the conversation that we're looking to have, those men on the outside would tell you, yo, sometimes I just got to go and just smoke and think this thing through, call my man. I told you I'm stuck on this show. I'm almost done with it. Call Archie Bunker. You know what I mean, right? He's the worst, right? He's the worst. But what I love about the show is that even though he's a bigot, he never wins. I just recognize that everybody talks about All in the Family, Archie Bunker. He's this, that, and the other. He talks about he used the F words for homosexuals. He's the worst. But at the end of each episode, he never wins. He's always right. He's always brought to a level where he needs to learn his lesson.
Yes.
Right. And I think that. So yeah, right. George Jefferson was the same because he was across the street, Jason. Right. He lived down the 2 houses away where he had his own, right? Okay. And it's really unbelievable. Man, don't lose my trend. That every time he gets in an argument that he cannot win with his wife or with his daughter or son-in-law, he goes down to Kelsey's bar.
Yes.
Right. Every time, what's his name goes through what he goes through with what's our guy's name? Big Ears. Come on, y'all.
Who?
You go, boy.
Who are you talking about?
Come on, y'all.
Shanae?
No, what's his name again? Yeah,
Oh,
Martin.
Martin?
Martin.
Right.
Yeah.
Where does Martin go?
Nipsey's.
Good, Nipsey's. When George Jefferson gets upset and whatever, he goes downstairs to.
Oh, I was about to say the Regal Beagle, but that's Three's Company.
But that's okay. If you notice, right, Martin Darrell, if you notice, all of these cats with these men in the 70s and 80s and whatnot, they weren't going to the bar to see a woman.
No, they were going to, they were going
They
for
were
men's
going to tight up with men.
camaraderie.
Cheers. Their whole show.
Come on, they were talking with men. You never found that they were there meeting women. They were there to talk about nothing, right?
You want to go where everybody knows your name.
All right. Or when they walk up there, they know already. Oh, my man is here. Even for you, sis. But here, my man is here. Here's your drink, because they know what you need after a long day. You see where I'm coming from?
But also, too, though, not to interrupt you, those were safe places. Safe.
Come on.
So a man will open up if he feels safe.
Wherever
maybe
it is.
question mark, because he has to learn what safe is, and he has to learn to be vulnerable. So the big part is making them feel safe. And coming from a female point of view, you didn't say anything that offended me.
Okay.
And thank you for sharing with me something we don't say. It's not easy for y'all to talk, but we have to recognize when you actually do, say thank you for allowing me to listen. Thank you for telling me that you said that to me, and leave it there. Don't comment, don't nothing. Say thank you. That saying thank you alone just changed your whole attitude. And you will talk to me again later on when you feel comfortable, because you know I recognized, I listened to what you had to say, and I said thank you for sharing. We
Validation.
don't do that.
Yep.
And that's
Validation.
something that has to be learned before we say I do or want to say I do. We got to learn to do that. You shared some things that are very heart-wrenching, are very your life, your growing up, your perspective on domestic violence and women getting hit. Thank you for sharing that with me. But as from a female point of view, we don't do that. Culture is so loud. Trauma is so loud. Hurt, broken can't help broken. Broken healed can help broken, but broken can't help broken.
Yo, it's crazy.
Get rid of her. Get rid of her.
No, what Tasha's saying is real, because what we found is that most women who are in relationships, when it comes to this, if I were to share with one woman who is not, well, let's just say, like you use the terminology you use, broken. If I share with you what I'm going through concerning you, you hijack that moment and turn it around and make it your experience. So my experience never gets to get addressed, and now I'm not addressing what I'm going through no more. Now I'm addressing what your experience is concerning what I said to you about my experience. And now I got to defend that. I got to defend the way I feel now.
Wow. Hey, everyone, all those who are watching right now, we have 12 more minutes. We're always trying to get off at 10:30, a little bit earlier, because we do this all night long. We can do this all night long. I really believe that you started this mess last week, Natasha. You really started this mess. And if for anyone who's on Facebook, for anyone who's online or whatever, we're trying to find Kim, but Kim ain't on tonight, man. We was looking for Kim tonight. Kim Hamilton Harris, but we didn't find her tonight. We needed some backup. I want to thank Jimmy.
Ain't on either.
Yeah, right. I wanted to just simply say, I want to get the book, but I want to get the book, and I think that I would like to get the book to probably read it with my spouse.
Yes.
Right. I think, really read it with my spouse. I just think it's important. And if I'm just saying, let's say that she's busying up, right? I don't remember the last time I sat down and Tasha, I'm gonna say this to you, and I'm gonna say this to you, Quest, because I know you guys are avid readers.
Yep.
I I'm going to give myself for the next 5 months the opportunity to read one book per month until and I'm only going to do it on communication and relationships.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, these conversations about to get good.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we don't want to hear what anybody has to say because we don't want to be reprimanded. We don't want to feel reprimanded. So, Natasha, when you made the comment of a man comes out and he says certain things to you, just say thank you. I heard you. And thank you. I can't heal you. Thank you, but I'm here, because it keeps a man coming back for more. That's his wine. That's a man's wine. That's a man's liquor. That's a man's when a man can simply say, I can talk to my wife and I know that she's not going to judge me. I can talk to my girlfriend. She's not going to judge me. I can talk to my friend. That's a woman. I'm sorry. And she's not going to judge me. It is nice. And I'm not going to be talking about black men. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm talking about men in general. Men in general have the curse of having to be God to their families, and we can't live up to that. So we're stuck. Remember, the curse is not a woman who's barefoot and pregnant. You know what I'm saying? The curse is that God gave to Adam was that he now has to play God.
Yeah.
If she hungry, it's his fault. If the house is in a disarray, it's his fault. If the house is, if there's no money coming in, it's his fault. And I know I'm not talking about what I want you to understand is that man has stress on him that only God was supposed to be able to handle. And when he comes in, now he made him a helpmeet to handle the stress of being a man. And they're equal at the same time. And I think that more men, more churches, more communities need to come together and simply say, just because a woman is a pastor doesn't mean, are you ready for this, family? Doesn't mean that you can't be a spiritual leader in your church. Just because a woman is a president doesn't mean you can't be a good congressman as a man. Just because a woman is picked by God as a judge, Deborah, in Judges, doesn't mean that you still can't be the head of your family. And I think that what has happened along the way is that society has caused men to feel that if you're not one step ahead of your wife, then you're an embarrassment. When I don't necessarily want to be one step ahead of my wife. I'd rather my wife be one step ahead of me and tell everyone he's one step ahead of all of us. Did you hear what I just said? I want you to understand that.
Yep.
So, Todd, when you made the comment just now, it's bigger than you thought it was. That what you just said was, the mess is talking to me, and I thanked the mess. Do you hear what I said?
Yes.
Oh,
You need two husbands.
I know, just one. But here's the thing. I have to be very honest. I am 48 years old, and it has taken me most of that time. Quest, fix your face.
I thought it was 28 or 38. I wasn't gonna say nothing. She right here with me. I thought it was 28 or 38. My bad.
No, I'm not the little girl anymore. That
Praise God. Praise God.
In New York. But it has taken me a lot of that time. A lot of that time. And I went to therapy. I will say that loud. I have seen a therapist, still see one from time to time, especially with a job called pastoring. Listen, it took a lot to get to that statement, Paul. That was never a couple of years ago. I couldn't even tell you if I could say that. It took me into my 30s to get to learn to do that, to say, thank you for trusting me with your emotions. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Because here's the thing, men can go outside and find women to do anything. What they can't find is women who will be gentle when needed. That's the one they marry. That's the one they go. If they're healed, they'll take a chance with that one, because they, like you said, your curse is to be godly, is to be this big thing.
Leader.
I saw a graphic one day on Facebook where the man is literally holding up the world. And the woman has the kids and has him. And I don't think a lot of people realize what that picture actually means. While he's holding up the world, she's holding up everybody else. That has to, you can't be broken doing that, because you're nurturing him and you're bringing 2 other people into the world, children into the world, however many, and you have to be okay yourself. That's not easy. And you can't do that successfully broken. So the statement you said, it has taken a lot of healing, and I'm glad God brought me to Andrews, because I was able to tear apart some things and start learning to really die to self. That's the hardest thing to do, is to die to self. When you're dying to self, you're dying to culture. You're dying to bad habits. You're telling trauma, they have no place in your future anymore. You are dying to these things gotta go. I cannot pass these on to my congregation. I cannot pass these on to my future husband, or I will break the very blessing God gave me. I have to die to these things. So that statement, that one in itself, took a lot to learn, to be able to say thank you and not run.
I got you. Hey, as we come down to a close, I want to show a video. I want to show a video for our brethren before we go. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a video first, right? And then I'm going to come back and I want to ask just one last question to each one of you. It could be it could be a paragraph long or what have you. But the question that I'm asking to each one of you is, what does emotional intelligence look like for a married couple who's going through no communication? That's what I'm going to ask. I want everybody just get stuck on that. All right, just get stuck on that, and then I want to show this video first. And after I show this video,
hold on, let me get that straight again. What does emotional intelligence look for a couple who's going through no communication?
No communication.
But
whoa.
What is the advice that you would give concerning emotional?
Oh, you didn't put that part in there.
That's what I meant. I suck. I suck at asking questions, but I know what I'm trying to ask. You know what I'm saying?
You're actually great at asking questions. So,
man. Yeah. So remember that. Jimmy, remember that. Natasha, remember that. Quest, remember that. All right. And we just want like a, all right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm dying to hear what your answers is. What your answers are already. But let's look at that. Let's look at this together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Jesus.
Gosh, I'm starting to feel the weight already.
Jesus. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's heavy.
Mm.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, Pete, that's a lot, bro. That's a lot.
I know it's something to think about. That's you too, Josh, as a leader, as a mother. Um, can you imagine a couple without communication, needing emotional intelligence? Josh, I'm gonna start with you, Jimmy. Then Natasha, man, I'm gonna ask you to close off. Uh, I'm gonna ask you to close off. Was that me or you?
Huh?
Oh, that's his chair. Okay, Jimmy, go ahead.
I don't even know where to start, B.
Okay.
What advice would I give to a couple that has no communication in reference to emotional intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let somebody else go first. I'm still processing what I
Okay.
saw.
Okay.
Still processing what I saw.
Okay. Tosh.
For me, I would go back to the beginning. What brought them in front of me in the first place? And then, do you want to communicate? I need to ask you that question. Why are you here in front of me? And then, do you want to communicate? And if that answer is yes, then the first thing we need to start off is, how did you learn how to communicate? I'm
Okay.
talking about before you got married. Where did you learn? What was your home life like? And then going from there, and then what got you to get married to this person?
Okay.
Like, how did you get here? What were your did you practice? Did you say, okay, this is how we're going to learn how to communicate? This is how we fight. Did you have, because 9 times out of 10, I can almost guarantee you those conversations never
Happen.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
After we can get from there, you need to bring two parties together to say, this is what we learned. This is how these two, and you need to sit them down, because maybe they never got the tools on how to do this in the first place.
Mm.
Show me how you communicate. I'm going to bring up a topic, and you guys start talking about this topic, and you go from easy topics to hard topics. I've done it with premarital counseling. I've done it with boyfriend, girlfriend things. The same stories keep on coming up. We didn't learn how to communicate. So
Gotcha.
now we're at this impasse, and we can't pass it because we never got the tools to have a better foundation. So when we would get here, because you're going to get there,
Right.
we would know how to deal with this impasse or this place, because it gets hard. It's never easy. God never promised it for it to be easy. It's going to be hard. But when you get to the hard spots, this is how you deal with the hard spots. A lot of us never got that.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Tosh, I'm going to say goodnight to you. Thank you so much for your
Good night,
time and
everyone.
your energy. Thank you for your time and your energy.
Thank you for
All right,
having me.
girl. Of course. Jimmy, any thoughts?
I think
Because I got to close off with.
I think to piggyback on really what Tosh said is really to ask the question. It's the question that Jesus asked the man: Do you want to be? Do you want to be healed?
Mm.
And the question is deep in the sense that there have been opportunities to do so, but are you willing? Do you want to be healed, and are you willing to take the necessary steps to be whole for yourself before a spouse, before children, before whatever? Do you want to be whole for yourself?
Mm.
And I think Quest talked about it earlier that, sometimes our communication is based upon trying to be a pleaser.
Wow.
And again, I go back to my own self that, thinking about being an approval addiction, and that kind of thing. But
Guilty.
to be able to ask, are you both? Are you willing to do work to unlearn, to relearn, and to develop? I think as Quest has
There
said,
you
are
go.
you willing to develop? Because if you're willing to develop, then we have something to work with.
Wow.
But if you're not willing to develop, then it's like being on soggy ground. The soggy ground would never develop into anything solid. And so that would be my first recommendation. And then we move on from there, contingent upon their responses and being able to go back and dig and find those kind of things. And then I think one of the other things, P, is as a pastor, understanding my limitations.
Wow, that's great.
Man. Come
That's
on.
good stuff.
Come on.
To be able to clinically handle some of the stuff that we face.
That word.
That yes, I have a degree in social work, but I haven't been clinically cleared yet to do some of the stuff. Know when I need to refer it out to somebody that I learned in my social work group, my group class. Don't ever undress somebody unless you got the stuff to dress them back up.
Lord have mercy.
Wow.
And so at that moment, if it's deep enough, I have to refer you to somebody that I can help you with some of the other things, but these major things you have to take care of clinically.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have the capacity. And I think that's where we do a lot of damage in ministry with some of us, that we don't know our own limitations. And we think that because we've been called to pastor people, that means that we become like marital counselors and all that other stuff. Some things need professional training, and God has given folks the gift of healing in that capacity. And that might not be my gift.
Wow. Hey, Jimmy, thank you for coming on, man. I know you were busy tonight, but thank you for your words of wisdom. Thank you for your energy. More than that, man, thank you for being open so that we'll realize, so many of us will realize that even leaders have been led astray and we didn't even know it.
Yes,
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, blessings to you.
Appreciate you.
P. Tasha
Don.
said, she said something that stuck with me a while ago. And she said, we come to this impasse and we can't get past the impasse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing that a lot of the times, not dealing with at the depth as, you know, as far as clinical stuff is concerned, because you said emotionally intelligent, just not having the communication. And those are the couples that are in need of a breakthrough. And how you achieve breakthroughs is by receiving, I guess, an advanced level of information that allows you to push past your point of resistance. So you got two people who are emotionally intelligent, and I'm questioning whether they're really emotionally intelligent because you're not communicating. And the reason I'm saying that is because emotional communication is pretty much the heart and lungs of a relationship. So if it is something that's breathing, you can't breathe, you're going to die in essence. And so if we're not communicating, so because, really and truly, because the emotional communication is the thing that allows or creates meaningful connection between two people. You know, when you finally got to the place where you decided that you wanted to be with Wendy. I remember when me and Faith would sit sometimes and we would go to, there's a place in Atlanta called Intermessos. And when we were dating, man, and Intermessos was this dessert cafe that stayed open until 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning. It was right on Peachtree.
You don't know. You don't even know. Go ahead.
Oh, bro. So we would go down there, man, get, you know, coffee and cheesecake, and we would sit on the sidewalk in the summertime and we would talk each and looking into each other's eyes and just the meaningful conversation. And I'm not talking about surface, yo, you just look so sweet. That no, I'm talking about meaningful conversations, like real.
Yeah.
And the amount of ideas and feelings that were shared during that time, it involves a higher level of paying attention to one another. I learned things about Faith during those conversations, like what I would get her stuff because gifts was her love language. How did you know? We've been talking. That's all.
We've been talking.
You've been talking and I've been listening, and vice versa. Because she would do some stuff. I'm like, yo, is she what? No, we've been having conversations and she would have been listening. So if we have relationship and we are so-called emotionally intelligent and we ain't talking, like there's a contradiction there.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, My belief is that it's the heart and lungs of any relationship.
Listen, man. I know we're closing off, but let me share this with you. The same thing you talk about Petrie or whatever. They just closed down a diner in New York, right off of Merrick Boulevard,
Shut up.
called USA. Remember USA Diner?
Do I remember? Many
Man,
things happened at the USA Diner.
what
Anyway,
you mean? How
continue.
you mean? How you mean? So that was my spot for me and Wendy. That was our spot. But we weren't even dating.
Wow.
We weren't dating. It's just like, yo, if she went out and hung out with a gentleman or whatever, and I hung out with some young lady, we'd just meet up there and talk about how, good the time was or wasn't. Throw 50 Cent up in that joint and listen to some songs, man. And sometimes you wish that things would go back to those days, because those were also the days when, I know, there's some things you weren't worried about back then. Y'all didn't have a house together, you didn't have an apartment together. It was still up in the air.
Nope. Yep.
But whatever it took to get faith, you got to keep doing to keep faith and keep the faith. and communication is key.
Yeah.
And it just definitely is key. I want to thank, man, you for your thoughts, Natasha for her thoughts,
Ditto.
and Jimmy for his thoughts. I don't care what nobody say. I ain't got no shame to say this. The only reason why I'm doing this because it's my part of my therapy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's part of my
It ain't
therapy.
only for you, brother.
Yeah,
It's not only for you.
This thing called, and I'm not talking about called marriage. I'm not talking about that, because if Wendy wasn't here, I still have to be a man. This thing about being a man takes a lot of responsibility, and sometimes it's easier to falter than to work at it. But what I heard tonight is that emotional intelligence takes work, right? It takes development, right? It takes faith, and it takes two. Man, thanks for all those who joined us tonight. I want to thank everyone for being on with us. We're trying to keep it to an hour and a half, but boy, with all these folks up on here, we're just glad that you took the time to hang out with us tonight. So be blessed, everyone. Continue to walk with God, and we'll see you next week on Unscripted Conversations. Be blessed, y'all.
Peace.